everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. I am going to show you what I'm making for dinner tonight. So this is actually something that we have eaten quite a lot of this summer. It is a meal that I don't have to turn my oven on, which is really handy so it doesn't heat up my house. And it's also something that I can kind of make casually throughout the day, just as I have little pockets of time. And so when it comes to dinner time, I don't have a giant mess. And I don't have a lot of stuff I have to do, which is really handy at this time of the year. It's really busy. And so that's always really nice for us to have in our back pocket. So I am going to make chicken Caesar wraps for dinner. And the first part of that is the flatbread part. So I'm gonna show you how to make that right now. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a cup of hot water. It's just the hottest that you can get from the tap. And then from that, we're going to add some instant yeast. I buy mine in bulk, so I put it in this jar. I'm going to add about a tablespoon. That's also about how much is in just one package of instant yeast that you get from the store. Up next, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of honey. You can add sugar here if you would prefer, but we just like the taste of honey in our bread, and I don't really like to add sugar if I don't have to, so we go for the natural sweetener, which will also feed the yeast. If you let your yeast sit, it will kind of foam up. I don't need to do that because I know my yeast is good, so I'm going to go ahead and add in 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I have also done this with einkorn. It works the same, honestly. If you let it sit for a few minutes and let the einkorn absorb water, then it really doesn't, you really don't need to add any more liquid or any more flour to it. But today I'm just going to use all-purpose flour because I have it right here. And that's 3 cups added there. And then I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt. And I like to add some extra gluten. This is called Vital Wheat gluten. If you don't have that, it's no problem. It just makes the dough a little bit easier to roll out. So I'm going to add that and add on my dough hook and mix it together. Now, if you don't have a stand mixer, then obviously you don't have to use that. You can mix this all with a wooden spoon and then turn it out on your counter and knead it by hand. That'll take a few more minutes, but really not much more time, but it will take a little bit more muscle. I just didn't want to deal with that today. Now, once you kind of get a little bit of that dough formed and you can see that your flour is getting hydrated, then you can add in about 4 tablespoons, a half a stick of softened butter. Once you get your butter in, you're going to turn your stand mixer back on, let it knead for 6 to 7 minutes until your dough is soft and supple. If you're doing it by hand, it'll probably take about 10 minutes. And then once you have that, you're going to just set it in a warm, draft-free place covered, and you can let it rise until it's doubled in size. Okay, so my bread dough has doubled in size, which is what you want it to do. And it is soft and supple and really, really good feeling. So I am going to split this into 6 portions. So this recipe makes 6 flatbreads. Of course, you can double it or triple it or whatever if you want to make more. Our family of 6 usually eats 1 each. So now I'm going to take just a very small amount of flour. This bread dough does have a decent amount of butter in it, so I find that I don't really need a ton of flour to roll it out. Now, I usually try to get as close to a circle as I can. I'm not great at rolling out a perfect circle. If you are, awesome. And then I'm going to bring you over and show you how to grill it. So really you can grill this on any flat surface. I prefer to use this cast iron griddle that I have. A cast iron pan would also work really, really well. I just turn my heat on and then get it hot enough to where if I am holding my hand above it, it kind of starts to burn it a little bit, and then I'm gonna pull back on that heat. You just wanna get that pan as hot as you can. So if you're using like non-stick, you wouldn't be able to do that. You really want something that you can heat up without having to have any kind of an oil in it, because we're gonna cook this without any kind of an oil. And I have this all rolled out. When I lay it down, it tends to lose its shape a little bit, but that's okay. And then we're gonna let this grill, and you're gonna start to see some bubbles, and it happens fairly quickly. We're starting to see some bubbles form, which is really good. That's what we want. And then we're just gonna flip it. You can see a little bit of color on that, and that is good. That's good stuff. So I put a towel down just to lay them on top of to let them cool down, and now I have 5 more to make, so I'll show you how that goes. Finished the flatbreads, and I went and did some other things that I needed to do, got some cleaning done, but now I'm finding myself with a few minutes, just a little pocket of time that I don't have anything else going on. And so I'm gonna pull everything out and show you guys how I make Caesar dressing. So the first thing that we are going to do is add about 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, however you say that word, to our bowl. Some super cute kids working on math in the background there today. And then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. I will say this Dijon mustard is from Aldi. I don't actually like to eat it just as mustard, but in this it's fine. And then I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Next up is minced garlic. If you want to mince it yourself and be a superhero, go ahead. I'm going to go with what I have in this jar because it's fast and easy, and quite frankly it costs me a lot less to just buy this jar than it does to buy that amount of garlic. And then the next thing is anchovy paste. You can see there, that's what the tube looks like. I think I got this tube from Winco, but they carry it pretty much at every grocery store. It's going to be by like the tuna in whatever aisle the tuna is in. And I'm going to put a little more than a tablespoon and a half, something like that, of anchovy paste. That is the only ingredient in this that is not something that I just would keep all the time anyway. But we make this enough, it's worth it. And then I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt and just a dash of pepper. That's kind of to taste. And then I always mix these ingredients up first and kind of break up that anchovy paste and just, you know, get a good mix in on that. Okay, and then the next thing that I'm going to add is some Parmesan cheese. If you just have already grated Parmesan cheese, like in the green bottle thing, then that's totally fine. I just didn't have any of that. So I'm going to grate some because I just have a microplane and a block of Parmesan cheese. So I'm going to grate about 1/2 cup in there. I will say I've made this with freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and I've made it with the stuff in the jar, and I can't tell the difference between the two. Maybe people with a more refined palate might be able to, but for me, I just go with whatever I have because I don't want to buy ingredients that I only need for one thing usually. So we use a lot of Parmesan cheese freshly grated over pasta, so that's just what I'm going to use. And then I give that a good mix. And then I add in some mayonnaise. So this is going to be about 1 cup of mayonnaise. I have tried different brands. This is the Target brand and it works just fine. Hellmann's also is really good. Any good mayonnaise is good. This is actually one ingredient that I can tell a difference. If it's a good version of whatever mayonnaise, then I can tell, but if it's a cheap one, it's not good. And then give that a good mix and give it a taste. And that is it. I think I ended up adding a little bit more cheese to this, but yeah, just because I'm freshly grating it, it's kind of hard to measure it just directly into the bowl. But yeah, that's it. That's how easy Caesar dressing is. It is definitely something that I don't have a problem making just whenever, because it takes me just a few minutes to make it. And if you're not grating your own cheese, it takes even less time, which is awesome. Okay, so I have my flatbreads done and I have my Caesar dressing done, and really these are the two things that are not just a super basic thing. So other than that, we like to add romaine lettuce, or whatever kind of lettuce you have. We usually just buy romaine, and so that's what we use. And I like to slice up some cherry tomatoes, and of course chicken. So you can use any kind of chicken. I will grill some up for dinner tonight, or you can use chicken like from a whole chicken that you've roasted, or from a rotisserie chicken, just kind of whatever you have. And that's it. It is really simple. You can grate some more Parmesan cheese on top if you really want. But that is our chicken Caesar flatbread wraps. We super love this. Another thing that we really like is to use these flatbreads for pizzas. So I will make them and vacuum seal them and stick them in the freezer. I always have some in the freezer. And this is really, really easy to use as a pizza crust. And you just add your sauce and your toppings and stuff right on top, and then you bake it. So that's another really easy thing that you can do with this. But tonight we're gonna have chicken Caesar wraps, and I'm really excited. So I hope that you guys liked it, and I will see you guys next time.